Welcome back to the Pat and Play podcast. We are here to review game week 3. Thank you again, Sal, Balin, and Von for joining episode 8 of this podcast. Without further ado, let's jump into the first segment. It's stocks rising and it's stocks falling. I'm going to start with Crystal Palace. They are my stock rising for the weekend. Look, we had Villa as a stock falling. A couple people have mentioned that Villa, Von and Linz, I believe, both said, nah, we don't feel Villa. I was a little bit on the fence. I feel like I didn't know exactly whether they were going to come out and do a little bit better in the next few games and whether they'd settle into the season. That was a massive loss. 3-0 is a big victory for Palace. And I just want to shout them out as my stocks rising. I think they've done really, really well to ride the wave of losing Eze, almost losing Gay, but we'll probably get into that in a moment. Oliver Glasner, wow, what a manager. That's my stock rising. Fon, who are you investing in this week?
My stocks rising is Jack Grealish. Suddenly, he is the Villa player that we've all been missing at City. Like this new hairdo, the calves are back, the short socks are back, the no shin pads. And I think he's got, 4 assists in 3 games? So my stocks rising is Jack Grealish.
Good shout.
I was actually going to say Grealish as well, but I'm going to say something else now. They were, I think I said in one of the episodes that they're my stocks falling, but I was very impressed. And I think also the whole thing with he was on his way out, and then that celebration when he scored was like, if any of my players did that, like playing for United and celebrated like that after being linked, and Fabrizio saying, here we go soon, and then you go and celebrate a goal like that to show me that you're staying at the club in front of our fans. Yeah, I think that's cool, and surely that's going to boost the morale at the club.
They helped him beat those betting allegations, so that's probably why.
That's something.
I'd kiss that badge too. But yeah, I think my stocks rising is going to be Sunderland, man. I think a newly promoted team. They've won 2 out of the 3 games that they've played. Granit Xhaka really looking like the man there, man. A strong leadership there. And I think, I've been impressed with them.
Yeah, that is a really good shout, guys. I got to say, I think the Grealish shout for me is probably the one I hadn't really thought of before the episode, but I think that's a banging shout. He looks really rejuvenated, and so do Everton. I don't know if you guys saw the the celebration with the wolf thing.
He's good.
That's some shithousery, though. I love it. To go in front of the Wolves fans and pretend you're a wolf. I love it. I love that stuff. All right, let's move to stocks falling. Why don't we start off with Sal?
You're a man of stocks falling, man. I mean, all these transfer announcements, and then it just gets cancelled or changed. Ridiculous. No, but jokes aside, keeping it more related to the league and football, I think I'm going to come with a controversial one, and I hope that we can discuss it at a later stage in the episode. Arsenal Football Club, man. And it's so flip-floppy of me because I put them as a stocks rising in like 2 episodes ago. But I don't see it. I don't see the football that they're trying to play. I mean, you and I got into it, so maybe we'll get into it a little bit later, but just don't see it. I don't understand the plan, the vision, besides just set pieces. I don't see it. And hopefully you can educate me. But yeah, I say stocks falling. And listen, when you're falling from such a high point, it doesn't mean you're going to end up low. But just what I expected, I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, my stocks falling, I'm going to have to go with Wolves. I think it was probably mentioned in the last podcast, but just after seeing some of the results that they've had and the last 2 Everton at home, speaking about Ndiaye and the celebration that he's just gone and done as well, they are eating humble pie at the moment. I don't think it's looking good for Wolves. Sunderland coming in, doing pretty well. Leeds are also holding their own. The couple of games that I've seen them play look to be competitive, look to be strong. Outside of that Arsenal game, I think they've been competitive and they look like they plan to stay. So my stocks falling is going to have to go with Wolves.
Nice shot.
My stocks falling might be a little bit of a controversial one. Again, I like to play devil's advocate, I think. I'm going to go with refereeing and VAR, specifically for Saturday's fixtures. It is becoming such a trend to make disgusting decisions, both on field and VAR, and then just say, oh, I'm sorry, we made a mistake the next day. and then move things around. But there's no ramifications. There's no justifications for it. And to be honest, it's costing clubs the league. It's costing clubs the game. It's costing clubs points. So that's my stocks falling.
Damn. Chervon, that is a cracking stocks falling. Wish I'd thought of that. Yeah, my stock falling is Brentford, but I think it's wider than that. I think it's any club that might have been looking at the promoted clubs and going, they're going to go back down. They're going to get relegated immediately. They don't look like the pedigree of clubs that came up in the last few years that looked like they just weren't ready to survive. I really like the Sunderland shout for stocks rising. For me, Brentford shouldn't be losing to a Sunderland, not the Brentford that we know anyway, the attacking quality they've had over the last few years. All right, let's move on then. So we've got a few stocks falling. We've done our stocks rising. I think we just got to attack the meat on the bone here, which is Liverpool first, Liverpool and Arsenal. So anyone listening already knows the result. 1-0 to Liverpool after a cracking free kick from Szoboszlai. I'm not sure how far out it was.
2 yards.
There we go. It looked around that. It was a long way out. And I thought Dominic Szoboszlai in the post-match press conference said it wasn't the best free kick I've scored. It's not nearly the best free kick I've scored. And I was like, what are you talking about? And then I went and had a look at the one he was referencing where he scored for Hungary. I think it was against Turkey. And oh my Lord, he was not lying. That man can hit a dead ball. Didn't know, but I know now. We've had a few listener questions, which I'm going to put on the table before we have a chat about this so that we can absorb some of these narratives and try and address some of the questions while we go through it. We've got one from Ollie Copeland, who says, what has happened to Martinelli? Reza has asked, when will Arteta be done learning? And Samir G is asking, how badly does the Arsenal fan base need to touch some grass? I think, Von, why don't we turn to you? What were your feelings about the win? How do you think the game went? And general feelings about this one.
Look, I'm ecstatic. 9 points from 3 games, 3 out of 3, going into this international break is a perfect start. They haven't been the perfect games, I'm not going to lie. Sal came after me because he was like, do you really think this was a good game? At the end of the day, 3 points means it's a great game for me because we ended up winning. It didn't actually build up to the game that I think everyone had in their head. I think they expected something similar to like the Newcastle game where it was going to be end to end, lots of like rivalries and heated emotions, that sort of vibe. It came down to tactics. It was a very, very tactical game for me. Arsenal were really, really smart in the way that they played, but they were also really dumb in the way that they played. They had this game plan of we're going to break them down with our set pieces. And they didn't know how to change the game after that, in my opinion. And that's where everything fell. And I think Arteta actually hit the nail on the head where he said this game came down, or it was going to come down to either a massive mistake or a moment of pure magic. And that described the game for me perfectly because that's exactly what it was. In the first half, Arsenal completely dominated the game for me. Liverpool allowed them to bring the game to us, but it also settled us very nicely, got our defense, gave them something to hold on to, some confidence in that, and then we could come back. In the second half, we attacked a lot more. We took the game to Arsenal. The fans were a little bit louder in the second half, and we got to dominate the game and dictate the pace of the game a lot more in the second half. Dom's strike is Steven Gerrard to the T. I actually saw Steven Gerrard posting a video of it, and I think it had Peter Jury's commentary in it where he's like, that is a pure gem. And then Dom reposted it, and then Steven Gerrard reposted the repost, and then Dom reposted the repost of the repost, which I thought was really, really funny because to me, Dom is the closest thing to a Steven Gerrard in that sort of style of play and the free kicks. And I loved how he said this isn't the best free kick he's taken, but he backed himself and he knew he could. At the end of the day, Liverpool are still finding their feet, trying to mesh as a club. I'm not going to think that everything's perfect. I'm not stupid. It is a perfect result. For me, obviously, I would have loved a thrashing of like a 5-0, but this is just, it's enough. I think we needed it. I think the team is finding a way to play together. And like you could see with Florine completely outplayed in the first half. Second half sort of kind of found his feet a little bit more. Dom at right back, Connor and Jeremy are going to have to fight really hard to get that position back, because I think he's killing it at right back. And even with his shout out to Trent, again, I think we're missing Trent. We're missing the balls. Salah's missing Trent. There was one moment where Dom did a switch ball across to Cody, which I think is where the game started to change once Curtis came in and made more creative moves in the midfield. But the switch of play is what sort of broke down Arsenal's sort of very, very structured defense. But yeah, I know Sal's going to come after me about Salah. I know Balin's going to come after me about Salah. We'll have this conversation. I think you don't bench Salah. That's just my opinion, because you never know. He's going to step up and he's going to create moments of brilliance again. He's not the player that we're used to right now, but I think he's still finding his feet without Trent. I also think he's still recovering from Diogo's loss. I don't think it's because of his age. I think he's still as fit as he could possibly be fit. Remember, this man's only missed 8 games, I think it is, in 8 years due to fitness and injuries. But Slot completely outplayed Mikel Arteta in terms of tactics. That's my say.
Salah needs to be benched, man. I think with Salah, we're all waiting for him to arrive. I know we're 3 games in, but with the kind of caliber player that he is, 3 games in, it feels like a long time. He just doesn't look as dangerous. I think we spoke about it previously as well. He just doesn't look as sharp and as dangerous as he normally does. But with regards to that game, Florian Wirtz playing like a frustrated Bruno Fernandes, just flinging balls everywhere, playing with no timing, with no pace at all. For me, he's starting to look rather expensive right now. Obviously, I know we need to give him time. He needs to settle into the league. But some of the things that he's doing are starting to raise a bit of an eyebrow for me. And I think it's just a very cagey affair. It lacked a lot of creativity. The likes of Odegaard, Eze on the bench, that's another thing that I don't know. I think we've known for a long time that Martinelli isn't the potent player that he thinks he is, or Mikel Arteta thinks he is. You've gone in and you've brought in Eze. Saka's down. Odegaard's not there. Let Eze do his thing. Put him in and see. So again, that hesitance from Mikel Arteta, but it's nothing new. I guess he also tends to play it safe from time to time. But I just think all in all, a very cagey affair. Not a game that was scintillating. Wasn't a great game for neutral, but 3 points is 3 points. Liverpool will take it. I think for Arsenal, still reason to kind of keep your head up as well. Arsenal could have stolen that game at any moment in time. If you lose to a free kick like that, you can go home and say, you know what, it's not all doom and gloom. That's just a moment of brilliance. It's football. It's football. You can clap for that. I could lose to a moment of brilliance like that and say, you know what, there's still hope. We came to Anfield, we toughed it out, and unfortunately, we were just beaten by a moment of brilliance. So I think for Arsenal, not all doom and gloom, lacking some of your bigger players as well. No Saka. Saliba went down early on in the game as well. I think that plays on you a bit psychologically. Yeah, all in all, it was just an okay game, and Liverpool get the 3 points.
My stocks falling should have been Arteta, not Arsenal. I couldn't say put it down to a whole club. I don't understand. From the time that this guy, I think it was against Liverpool. It was in lockdown when lockdown was ending. And I think it was in the FA Cup, Or it was a game where I watched Arsenal dominate the ball against Liverpool. That season that Liverpool won the league. And it was still with the baby Arsenal squad before there were any, like a top 4 contender when Arteta just arrived. The season you guys won the FA Cup. And what I saw was a team playing football, a team building from the back, a team with an idea, with a plan, with a style. And I feel like that carried on, got them into the top 4, got them into title races. And I just feel like it's not quite there anymore. And my frustration with Arteta is because what I saw from him in the beginning was bravery. And I just feel like he's not as brave as he was before. Why is Martinelli starting the game? I'm not even an Arsenal fan, but if I was, I would be losing my mind. Martinelli has been, honestly, in my opinion, he's been rubbish for a while now. And to go and play, like, for me, is a big signing. somebody who is Premier League proven, has been playing so far this season and shining, pretty much auditioning for his next club. Put him on. Put him on, man. 3 training sessions only. I think he's only had 3 training sessions up to that point.
But he's also someone that's faced this Liverpool team already.
You know what I mean? He won the freaking Community Shield against Liverpool already. Put the guy on. Play him. It doesn't matter. This is a big money signing that you're announcing in some stylish video with Ian Wright. So play him in the big game. Instead of playing Martinelli, who, again, I'm not even an Arsenal fan and I'm losing my mind flipping tables with the decision that he's making. So I just don't understand like what Arsenal are trying to do. Like the way that they played, possession, even the chances created from open play. I've never been an XG guy, but like I saw the XG and it's like low, like over the start of the season for open play goals. And I just feel like...
Who do you think got the higher XG in the game?
In that game, based off of what I saw, I would say probably Arsenal, to be fair, because I wasn't with Liverpool either. So I'm going to get to that next.
No, actually, wasn't it 0.49 versus 0.51?
Nah, Arsenal won the XG. I got it here in front of me. I'll read out the stats. Give me a moment.
So I'm not by any stretch of the imagination saying that Liverpool were good. Liverpool I'm going to get to now as well. We've been saying, right, like we don't necessarily see like what's going on there, like how they functioning or what their plans are. I mean, Linde always comes with his famous joke, you know, the Rolex is ticking. But, guys, like Balin said, he's looking
bad,
expensive, man. It was horrendous. It was horrendous. I'm not a Bruno Fernandes fan, right? I've never been a big fan of his. I appreciate him for everything that he is, but he frustrates me. And all the reasons that Bruno Fernandes frustrates me is what I was seeing from Flo Wirtz in the first half. But I agree that he did come a little bit more alive in the second half. But even Salah, and I don't blame Salah. I also don't think it's an age thing. I just think Salah doesn't hit the numbers that he has hit since he came in 2017, or touched the heights that he touched in every other team in the league. I don't think he does that. And that's not to take anything away from him. He's achieved that. I think that the Liverpool team that he played in, the players he had around him, and again, I'm not taking anything away from him, but like losing Trent, for example, a change in system, the game becoming a bit more dynamic, you'll see a little bit less of the ball. When Frimpong comes back in, I just don't think it complements the type of player that he is to the extent that it did previously. So again, I'm not taking anything away from him because he's done enough. He can retire tomorrow. He's given the game enough. He's given football enough. Let's not let the longevity of Ronaldo and Messi fool us. If Salah decides he wants to hang it up tomorrow, he deserves a statue. However, I don't think we're going to see the same numbers that we've seen before. I don't think we're going to see even close to that. But again, that's not taking anything away from him. So Liverpool, I need to understand what their plan is as well, especially now. We'll get to it, I'm sure. But now with the big year we go that we got on deadline day, this Isak thing, somebody needs to show me. We'll wait and see, but I need to see how they're planning on playing football because I have not been impressed with them either. So time will tell. Been impressed with some individuals like Ekitike. I rate him very highly. Soboslai, rate him very highly. Gakpo, I think, has been sublime since the season started. I think he's been insane. The rest of the squad, though, as a whole, I'm not too sure. But hey, let's see.
Interesting. I think that judging Ekitike, Wirtz, Gyökeres, Madueke as any forward in this game is not a good idea. And the reason for that is this game was played in the middle third only. Whenever the ball went into the Arsenal third defensively, Liverpool was snuffed out. Whenever the ball went into the Liverpool third and it was Arsenal, it was snuffed out. And I thought Slot was fantastic in his post-match press conference. He said it really well. 8 out of 10 of these games, if you were to simulate it, end in a boring 0-0 draw. And in one game, Liverpool will chance it. And in one game, Arsenal will chance it. And it really was that type of game. There were a couple of moments where people didn't quite pull the trigger in the right way. Like Eze should definitely have shot and scored. I don't know why he tried to buy a penalty. Salah had a couple of opportunities where you feel Arsenal got a last-ditch block in. And so maybe it doesn't reflect on XG or it doesn't reflect shots on target, but I think those were decent opportunities. But in general, I just think this is the wrong game to judge forwards. This wasn't a game for attackers. This was a game for tactics, and I'll actually just go a little bit against the idea that there was a big tactical battle that either team won or lost. I kind of think that both teams set up in a way which nullified the opponent, and it worked really, really well. Liverpool's defense hasn't looked good this season, and yet it looked fantastic against Arsenal. Arsenal's attack hasn't looked fantastic this season, but you did expect they'd get something against Liverpool based on how Liverpool's defense has been. And in the converse, Liverpool have scored 7 goals, and you sort of expected them to make more chances against Arsenal. It didn't manifest that way. And that is just, we get these games in the Big Six. Sometimes they are just like stalemates, like chess, where you're doing the identical move, you're just mirroring each other. I think if Liverpool had come into the game missing Salah, Van Dijk, and a midfield talisman, the narrative in the media would have been different. No one got eaten alive yesterday. It was 2 boxers who didn't land a knockout punch on each other and were just circling each other in the ring for 12 rounds. Fine. It wasn't great, but I don't think it's a catastrophe. And so when Samir asks, should Arsenal fans touch some grass? I saw people asking for Arteta to be fired after the game, and I'm going, this is the first time we've lost a Big Six game in 3 years, 22 games. You don't do that unless you're getting something right. So Sal, I feel you might be focusing on the media narratives which are emerging, which is we're set piece FC, we're Stoke FC, despite the fact we scored record numbers of goals, despite the fact that the set pieces weren't relevant against Liverpool. But what I will say, Arteta got one big thing wrong, and you've all mentioned it. It is around the starting lineup. Martinelli should never play a game like that after being in such poor form when you've got good options on the bench. If you, as a 180 grand a week winger, come up against Szoboszlai and he wins man of the match, then you messed up really badly, because you were supposed to get him running backwards. You're supposed to be asking people, ping me a diagonal over Szoboszlai so I can test his awareness, so I can run at him. Instead, Martinelli, he looks and stares at his feet and then just runs like that. But Eze comes on and in 3 moves, does one move where he cuts inside, passes it to Odegaard. He does another one where he goes on the byline. Absolutely fantastic move, just rolls him and then goes on the byline. And of course, there's the mini penalty shout, which is not a penalty in any stretch of the imagination, but he absolutely has to hit that. Don't know what he's doing. Absolutely has to hit that. But that happens in like 12 minutes of game time. And Martinelli, on the other hand, everyone is showing the clip from the 10th minute when we finally broke through Liverpool's midfield. Martinelli has the ball. Gyökeres runs on the outside of Konate, and all you need to do is put a 6-yard pass in between Konate and Van Dijk, and Gyökeres has the run. It's the type of thing that you do when you've lost all confidence in your ability, and then dribbling it out of play. It was actually quite sad to watch, to be honest, because this is a guy with 15 non-penalty goals in 2022-23 in the league, which I think is not far off a record for a winger, I believe, at the age of 20. So it is sad. I think Eze is going to rip the shirt off his back, and that's it for Martinelli, because once Eze has that at the age of 27, we're talking 4 or 5 years of Eze, and Martinelli must, start learning Arabic, because the Saudi league is coming for him.
I think Arteta's just trying to get the job done. So I don't think he's so worried about the optics of how the football looks at this particular point in time. He needs to win. He quite simply just needs to win. With regards to the style of play and whatnot, sure, obviously you've got to have an idea of how you approach every game. You've got to have some sort of an identity. But Arteta needs to win. And I think if anybody knows that, Arteta knows that he just needs to win.
I don't think Arsenal need to hang their heads in shame with this. If this sort of game happens later in the season, like 3 weeks out from the title being decided, then yes, hang your heads in shame with the way that you play.
Yeah, I agree, Von. It's way too early in the season to be drawing too many conclusions. It's a very, very small sample size. And also when you start with a game at Old Trafford and then Anfield with Leeds in between. I know the XG comment was made there around Arsenal having a pretty low XG. Makes sense. I think that would be expected at Anfield and Old Trafford. And we have St. James's Park coming up and then City. So I don't think anything is improving very shortly. But anyway, talking about City. So City were winning 1-0. And then...
Can I just show you the shirt I'm wearing today?
Yeah. Look.
Milner, I knew it.
I had to.
I love that.
Love that.
Look, City, Balin, what are you thinking about City, man? That was another collapse.
I was here 2 weeks ago saying that I saw Turkey do a couple stepovers and thought that actually City are back. I sit here 2 weeks later and I'm also just like, I actually have no idea what's going on there. I saw a lot of comments after the game coming out from Rodri, you know, talking about how he's not Messi and he's not going to come back and impact the team as quickly as a player like Messi and things like that. So City making excuses now as well. So it's not looking good for City at all. I think even there's just I don't even know, an aura about the team right now, or in fact, a lack of. They don't have the swagger that a City team usually go around with. You bet your last dollar on City, you know? Even with the supply for Haaland, and I know them bringing in players like Bob, he's quality, but I just don't think they can deliver at the level that a club like City needs you to deliver at. I think there's a lot of mix and matching at the moment. And I really just don't know with City at the moment. Just honestly speaking, I have no idea what to expect from City. 1 week, yeah, I guess they're knocking, well, what was a poor Wolves team? And then the next week, they're getting hit by Tottenham. And then the week after, now Brighton make this comeback. So, geez, City, I can't pinpoint it. They just look a bit lost, look like they lack chemistry, and also just making a lot of excuses.
Yeah, I think God may be emotionless, but I think God himself is tired of City and is doing everything possible to make this run come to an end. Because honestly, it seems like teams have figured out a way to get it over the line against these guys. And I agree with what Balin's saying, like in terms of them not having that aura anymore. Like not having the flair, not having the style, not having that dog in them anymore. They're not a very intimidating team, to be quite honest with you. And again, it's 3 games, right? That's why our opinions are flip-flopping so much, because, you know, anything can happen at the beginning of the season. Balin's saying now that City fans are making excuses. We don't know many City fans personally, but we see them all over the internet, right? And they're not ones to complain. But a City fan envying Liverpool's transfer window and saying like they won a league and they went and spent so much money to improve. And then it's like, we won a treble, and then I think they said this is the only player we signed. And it's interesting because City fans have never complained. I saw another City fan saying, we all know what to say, but we don't want to say it. And I think he was implying that like Pep's time is up, and which I don't think it's down to any dependability from Pep per se, but yeah, it's an interesting time. And I'm here for it because I think football can do without Man City, which is a testament to how small of a club it is, because I genuinely think that football without Man City is not going to feel like there's a missing piece at all. So yeah, but yeah, exciting times for neutral fans and for the league and rival fans alike. Let's see how it goes.
I think as much as we can talk about City not doing the things that they normally do, I think we're missing the point here, is that Brighton did the things. Brighton brought that game to City despite going a goal down. They equalized, yes, with a penalty, which was a clear penalty because handball, I mean, it was there. He was waving at the ball to come touch him. So handball, and then Trafford makes this beautiful save. And I think less than 40 seconds later, Brighton are back at it, and then they score a gorgeous goal. So that Brighton manager, whose name we can never remember, I just know him as a very, very good-looking man, is doing something right. He's getting it right. And I don't know what it is about this Brighton team, but I have always been a massive James Milner fan. And for me, whenever he's on the pitch, I think he makes a massive difference. And his leadership is just insane. Fun fact, he's now the second youngest and the second oldest goal scorer in the Premier League, which I think is hilarious. But yeah, I'm just flabbergasted that I wanted to really, really say that I gave Brighton props when we were making predictions, and we all kind of said City couldn't go back-to-back games with losses. But I kind of backed Brighton a little bit, and I think we all collectively celebrated that Brighton's second goal as equally as if it was our own team scoring that goal. So Pep needs to go back to the drawing board.
I'm glad you called out Brighton. I got a stat for you, which I think is going to surprise a few listeners. Because, of course, they won at the Amex Arena, right? Brighton at the Amex against Man United, 2-1. Against Tottenham, 3-2. Against Man City, 2-1. Against Arsenal, 1-1. Against Chelsea, 3-0. Against Liverpool, 3-2. They got 16 points out of 18 available last season at the Amex against the Big Six. That is crazy, man. I didn't really realize Brighton were that incredible against the top six. Clearly, if they get the performances against the bottom 10 or bottom 14, they could be doing a lot better than they did in terms of final table placings. I think we should move on. Let's do Man United. Sal, I'm going to turn to you first. It was a bit of an up and down game for you guys, bit of a roller coaster experience. Quick thoughts on Man United Burnley?
It took me 24 hours to be glad about the 3 points. Honestly, I was like emotionless during the game. But I'm glad that 24 hours later, the joy actually settled in. I literally had to sit with myself and remind myself that, listen, man, it's the third game of the season. Let me not bullshit you guys. I felt happy when I saw that we were above City on the log. So I was like, you know what? It's not all.
Honestly, it's
I was like, you know what? It's not all that bad. And honestly, it's not. The Grimsby Town loss, whatever. I hope that Amorim gave them a bollocking and that they're going to wake up because, again, like I said, I don't think that's down to coaching. I think that's just down to the players not showing up and not wearing the badge with pride. But 4 points from the opening 3 games, it's not the worst start in the world. We've obviously seen a lot worse last season. So there's still hope, right? We getting our new keeper now in Lemons. And I'm hoping that also adds a little bit of a change, gives the back line and the squad a lot more confidence. And yeah, I'm looking forward and I'm trying to be optimistic, right? I've got my shirts on. I'm so proud to be a Man United fan. I do have a lot of emotions, but I want to be proven wrong by Ruben Amorim. I said I don't have a firm stance, but I need him to prove something to me. And I am super, super excited to see where things go still, right? We still need to see the best of our new signings. We still need to see the best of the squad. So the honest truth is the only way is up. I'm hoping that we move in that direction, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. The one thing that's stressing me out, and Balin, you'll come on next and tell me, I'm not sure how long is Cunha out? Is he out for?
I'm also not sure. I haven't heard.
Cunha has been like a silver lining for me.
I think he's got a hamstring injury and he's out for 3 to 6 weeks, somewhere around there.
I then scrap the season, and we'll see.
I think, the biggest thing with us, and we start games well. United start games well. And majority of the times when we're playing against teams, if we can just, in the first 10 minutes, when we're buzzing, when we're knocking the ball, if we can, in the first 10 minutes of the game, just put 1 or 2 of the chances away, you're looking at a completely different game. Goals change games. And unfortunately, United just struggled to find the back of the net consistently. We played a great first half. I think in the first half, honestly, could have been 3-4-0 up. Had some major, major chances and convert none of them. I think also it was great to see Kobe come on. There's been a lot surrounding him, and I'm glad that he got his minutes. To be honest, Mason Mount actually played better than he did. Mason Mount is actually doing a job for us. I probably would still rather want to play with Sesko up top and just have that focal point, have a striker up there and play with Cunha and Mbeumo beside him. But I have to give credit to Mason Mount. I do think he's playing good football. He's a committed player and he's one of those players that just never cheats you. So it's hard to not want to see him in the squad.
Let me ask you a question quickly then on that point, right? What would you do then? You'd start Sesko as the 9, right?
You want me to say put Mount in the 8 and then take Bruno out.
No, I don't want you to say that. I'm asking, is that what you do? Would you put Kobe and Bruno in the midfield? Would you put Kobe and Mount? Like, what would you do?
I think we need to be more experimental with that midfield. Midfield is our biggest problem. And for a team that has such a big problem in the midfield, to not want to experiment and try find like what your best combinations are, I feel is a bit criminal. He experiments with everybody but Bruno. Like, Bruno's this untouchable that we can't experiment with. Nah, this guy plays every game, and he's played every game for the past 5 years. I swear, he's played every game. So just let's see, when we bring other people in, you bring in Kobe and Mount, see what dynamic that brings in. You got to be a bit experimental and just see. It's just that United have had problems for so long. It doesn't feel like the third game of the season. It feels like the 54th game of last season. That's what it feels like. But third game of the season, and I think United fans also just need to be patient as well. This is Amorim's first proper season with the preseason. He's bringing in some of his players. He's still trying to implement the style that a lot of us aren't fans of. But I see some ideas, particularly, like I say, in the first couple minutes of the game. It looks like we've got an idea. It looks like we've got an identity. Guys just have to put the ball in the back of the net ultimately as well. And that's something that, as a coach, you can't step on the pitch and put the ball in the back of the net. You have to trust your players to do that.
Firstly, about this game, can I just give a shout out to Lyle Foster for scoring? South African boy there. Very proud. That's sweet, yes. And he got his first Premier League goal. Yeah. I think the first one was disallowed, and then he scored again afterwards. What I enjoyed about this United game was I felt a bit of hunger from them, from the players. When Xerxes came on, I felt like the game changed. And I felt like there was a bit more of a desire. And I saw it mainly when you conceded the equalizing goal and then straight from kickoff went ahead and went 2-1 up. Yes, you conceded again after that, but that desire is something that I think United have been missing. I think United have something now to hold on to as a benchmark or a springboard. So come after international break, they'll run off this and say that we can build on this style of football. We can build on this feeling in front of our crowd. The crowd was great as well with the players. I think this is a great springboard to where you guys want to go for the rest of the season.
Yeah, Balin, I kind of love the idea that this is the 54th game from last season. Yeah. August doesn't mean anything. Summer doesn't mean anything. You're still on tenterhooks. Okay, let's move off Man United. I do think getting that 3-2 will make the international break a whole lot easier for Amorim and everybody else involved. All right, I'm going to quickly run through the rest of the fixtures and folks jump and add a comment if you want to. Tight on time here. Spurs lost to Bournemouth. We did get a question actually from Tized. So some consistently inconsistent. And I wanted to throw out this stat for the listeners. Spurs have lost the last 9 games after beating City, which I think is kind of insane. But again, bit of a surprise result. And I will say for the listeners, if any of you did watch the game, Alex Scott, the Bournemouth signing, keep an eye on that boy. Absolutely lovely piece of skill to finish Bentancur in the middle of the pitch, but otherwise a really good performance from him. We also had Palace win 3-0 at Villa, West Ham 3-0 at Forest, Sunderland.
Interesting one. That West Ham was a bit of a shocker there. That was interesting.
Not what you'd have expected, right? The narrative, even Judy said in the FPL segment last episode, we're all targeting West Ham. I'm not anymore.
But can you imagine if you left that game at 80 minutes?
Crazy. And fans do that a lot in the UK to try and beat the rush to the tube. Is they sort of sneak out in the 82nd, 85th. Well, yeah, don't do that if you're West Ham. Good one for Potter. I think he was under a lot of pressure. Yeah. Sunderland 2-1 against Brentford, another last-minute winner. A lot of games this weekend involved either hammering you wouldn't expect or a last-minute goal.
I think the juice got it all weekend.
Oh, they heard us. It was a great weekend. I really enjoyed it. Speaking of, then it was Everton versus Wolves, 3-2. It looked like Wolves might come back and ruin the party. Didn't happen. I really like Everton. I know some of you guys have Beto and NDI in your FPL teams. That's a good shout, guys. I saw some really big wins this week. Got a really boring draw. Leeds versus Newcastle 0-0. Nothing really to shout home about there. Probably the worst game of the weekend. And then just to end off, Chelsea 2-0 at Fulham. Any comments on the rest of the games, folks, before we move on to transfer news?
I kind of just want to talk about the Chelsea-Fulham disallowed goal. Firstly, shout out to that kid King. What a talent. Like, everyone's talking about everyone else's youngsters, and he's kind of gone under the radar a little bit, but he's a decent baller. Great talent. I really feel bad for him for that goal being disallowed, because I genuinely think that VAR got it wrong. And then with the ref going and reviewing it for over 5 minutes and watching it, where else was he supposed to put his foot when he's in the air? Can't see how that's a foul. I genuinely can't see how that's a foul enough to disallow the goal. So that, and then to come out the next day and be like, oh, we're sorry, we're changing the VAR for the Arsenal-Liverpool game because it was the same VAR. It's just not good enough for me. It's not a good enough excuse. We've had VAR in the Premier League now for many seasons. Referees, this is your job. Like, just, you guys need to just do better. I'm really disappointed with it. There were a few decisions in this specific game, this Chelsea-Fulham game, where my heart actually broke for Marco Silva, because I just felt like he was up against the world in terms of like the refereeing. It was just difficult and frustrating. And look, I'm not saying Chelsea don't deserve to win the game. I just think Fulham deserved better from that game.
There's no consistency at all with this VR thing. 1 week this is a handball, and the next week it isn't. 1 minute this is a foul, and then the next week this isn't. So there's no consistency. But look, I think VR has been around for some time now, and I doubt it's going away. I don't know if it does more damage than it does good, because sometimes it does play its part and it does get decisions right, and it's decisions that previously, referees wouldn't have had the opportunity to review or to correct. But I also just think these VAR guys are bored. Like, they feel the need to always want to be involved.
Feel the attention.
To feel the attention. Sure, you're getting paid for the job. Doesn't mean just because you're getting paid to do the job, you need to create like your own job kind of scope thing now, where you must just know, like, it's not about you. Let the game go on. And if there are any decisions where it's just like it's obvious and it's blatant, like they say, then intervene. Otherwise, man, just stay out of the way.
If it's taking you 5 minutes to look at replays, it's not clear and obvious.
It was brought on similar to goal line technology to take away those moments that were either clear and obvious or became super controversial down the line. Like, let's say, for example, this Fulham thing, right? It's ridiculous. And I'm so disappointed that Linda's not with us tonight, because he was saying to me that it's a foul. And I was like, so shocked. I couldn't believe that anybody will think that's a foul. So Linda, I know you're listening. We're going to have it out when I see you again. But I just think that, again, like you're saying, VAR has taken up so much of attention, and for things that it's not even needed for. There's so many plays or quote unquote fouls that aren't even fouls, or that we wouldn't really give a second look to. Wouldn't have done so in the past. But now, because we have VAR, we're nitpicking all these little things that we would have just let go in the past, besides the clear and obvious. And it's just ridiculous. It's absolutely insane. Like, had they not taken that thing to R with the Fulham goal that was disallowed, I don't really think we'd be giving it any second looks or the part. You know what I mean? Like just because now there's VAR and we can turn our attention to this thing, now it becomes a thing. 5 to 10 years ago, it's not a thing, in my opinion. I really wish they didn't bring VAR to football. I think it does help if used correctly, but yeah.
What I'd say about VAR is, and I agree with you, Sal, I wish it had never come in, because we sit and watch most of the games from our TVs, and it's one thing to experience VAR as a watcher from the armchair. We get replays, you can go off and get yourself a drink or whatever. If you're in the stadium, it is shit. It is a rubbish experience. You don't know what's going on. But more than that, football is a low-scoring sport. It is not basketball. You don't get to celebrate every 15 seconds when your team scores. The one moment of pure adrenaline and ecstasy in football is when a goal goes in. Now we re-referee every single moment of the match. I don't celebrate in the same way when a goal goes in, because there's that feeling. Did something go offside? Did someone handball it? Was something wrong that they're going to go and re-referee that? I mean, Eze's free kick against Chelsea. I cannot express how that is a moment that is supposed to be pure in football. We should not be finding excuses, because that's what it feels like. It feels like we are looking for a reason to rule out goals. And in such a low scoring sport, that is a big problem. That is a massive problem.
I think the commentators in the South African feed, at least, hit it on the nail on the head as well when they say, at the end of the day, the referee still has the power to overrule the VAR's decision because it's the referee's game. So if VAR say go and look at the monitor, you do not have to follow what VAR say. If you are sticking to your guns and you are so sure of what you saw on the pitch is what you saw on the pitch and those are the rules, you stick to your guns and you say, I ruled it as it is. That's it.
Done. Finish and clear. Let's move on quickly to transfer news. Von, how are you feeling about the Isak news?
Look, I wasn't happy whether he was coming or not. I struggled to invest in a player that leaves the club the way that he left. If you look at Mark Gay, for instance, and I know we didn't get him over the line despite the transfer request going through and the deal sheet going through, Crystal Palace failed to find a replacement, so that deal fell through. But Gay, he captained his side yesterday, and he scored a goal that helped them win. And then at the end of it, Dean Henderson was actually pushing him towards the fans to go and say goodbye, and he said no. I know he's extremely humble. He's a man of God, which brings him very, very, very back down to earth. And I think that's one of the main things for it. But I also look at the way Trent left as well. He played for the club until the last second, even though he knew the fans weren't happy with him. He gave his all for the badge. That's kind of the player I want. I understand why Isak sort of reacted the way that he wanted, because he felt that promises were made and then broken down. But I don't like the behavior that he followed through. I don't like the boycott. I don't like the causing animosity in the club and leaving, like, just forcing Newcastle into a corner. Look, I don't know what happened behind closed doors. I don't know the conversations that they had, but the way the media played it out obviously plays a part in it as well. So I'm happy he's here. I'm happy we've signed him. It's a lot of money, and I really hope that he can show up for it as a human being a little bit longer to warm up to him as a person and as a player that I can fall in love with. I am going to celebrate his goals, don't get me wrong, because I think he's going to score a lot of goals. But it's going to take me a while to sort of accept him into a Liverpool family and trust that he's not going to do the same thing because he signed a 6-year deal. And then if Real Madrid come knocking, is he going to do the same thing? So it's going to take a while. That's my honest personal opinion. Football-wise, great. I'm happy.
You know, when you were younger and you would map out, if you were to go be a professional football player, you had mapped out, this is how my football career would go. I would start off at a small club, and then in my debut season, I scored 20 goals and get 16 assists. And then my dream team comes after me. United comes knocking on the door, and I go there and I win the Balin d'Or 6 times in a row at United, and Real Madrid comes knocking. And then I go to Real Madrid and I go win the Champions League a million times there. And then finally go to LA and retire or something like that. Players have dreams, guys. I think sometimes we forget that these are human beings that aspire to be something and that come from somewhere. They have dreams, they have aspirations. And sure, Isak hasn't handled this professionally, but we need to remember that these are human beings with dreams, right? Isak, coming out of Sweden, coming out of wherever he came out of, having the opportunity to play for a club of the size of Liverpool, particularly at the moment in time Liverpool are at right now, where they're competing for all these trophies. Sure, obviously there are ways to handle these things, but we just need to realize that players also have dreams, they have aspirations. And if you want to go play for a top club, you make it known that, hey, guys, I play for Newcastle right now. I'm grateful for everything that you guys have done for me, but I want to go to the next level. I want to compete for the Premier League. I want to compete for the Champions League. I want to be a player that can be in Ballon d'Or chats. And unfortunately, it's not going to happen at Newcastle, you know?
I think I agree with you, Balin. I understand the Newcastle perspective as well, though. But if I was a Liverpool fan, I wouldn't care. I would say he's fighting for my badge. Like,
Yeah.
he's not fighting for the Newcastle badge, but he's fighting for mine. So it wouldn't really faze me. But at the same time, of course, I get Chervon's point. Like, if Real Madrid come knocking and Liverpool evaluates him at 200 million and then Madrid don't want to offer 200 million, is he then going to boycott the club because they don't want to let him leave? Maybe. But I think it is always a lot more. Again, we don't know the behind the scenes thing. And I said it in one of the episodes. I said, like, I completely understand Newcastle's point of view, right? So I spoke about how Liverpool went and signed the replacement that they had lined up. It's like, so that in itself is probably also a behind the scenes thing. Like, they probably felt like Liverpool did them dirty. It's tricky because what Balin is saying is 100% right. And he's been a loyal servant to the club. He's gotten them quite far, won them a trophy last season, and has really, really given his all to the club up until now. So it's a very tricky one, but exciting times for Liverpool. I agree with Balin that you want to see the best players playing for the best clubs. I think that's the way football's meant to be. I'm keen to see what happens. For his sake, I hope he does well, because it was looking like he was shooting himself in the foot. It was looking like his career was going down south. You know, some to Osimhen and Ivan Toney. But yeah, now he's got his chance. So, you know, show us what you can do.
Let's see how Isak settles at Liverpool. I think it's a match made in heaven, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see how it all works. But at the same time, there's a lot of chat around, you know, Ekitike or Isak. I don't think it's a conversation really. At the end of the day, Isak will start because he's the talisman. But there are so many minutes in football. Like, we play like 65, 70 games a season. Isak isn't going to play all of them. He'd be lucky to play like 30 given his injury record. So Ekitike is going to get loads of minutes. Still a brilliant signing. And I think Liverpool have done really well to balance out the rejuvenation of the front line this summer. Let's move on. We've got Jackson, of course, went out to Bayern on what was a ridiculously lucrative transfer for Chelsea. I don't know what imprimat these guys have on certain European sporting directors, but Bowley might be connected, is the only thing I can assume here, because wow, that was going to be the most insane transfer. And just by the way, Bayern sold their soul for that one. They got rid of one of their youth kids, Vanner, who is an absolute mercurial talent, and they sold him for 15 million euros to bring Nico Jackson in on a 15 million euro loan. We've got Visser going to Newcastle. We've got Sancho finally leaving. Bit of a sad ending really to his dream, if we're talking about dreams in England. And of course, we've had other, I would say, immediately successful transfers happening. Like the Grealish example kind of gives me a little bit of hope for Sancho, that maybe a different environment will give him a new lease of life. Definitely a few interesting transfers. The Gay one, I'm hearing in the background that Glasner may have threatened to offer his resignation if Gay was allowed to leave, and that may have forced Palace's hand there. Hey, look, this is coming from sources, so who knows exactly how legit that is.
Eddie Howe, I hope you're watching.
Unfortunately, no time for Game of the Week this week, which I think Linz and Jude are going to be happy about, because it was a chance for people to catch up a little bit. Don't forget, folks, do download, do subscribe, do follow. If it's on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure you press the follow button and you're getting the notification when we post a new episode. And as I mentioned, don't forget to join the WhatsApp community if you want to ask questions, jump into the general chat a bit of football, and a lot more. So thank you for getting this far if you made it. And as always, we really, really appreciate your support on the podcast. Thank you so much for listening.